Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, the countdown to the Iowa caucuses continue. More about what undecided voters have to say about the race for the GOP presidential nomination. And a record 300,000 migrants were processed at the U.S. southern border last month, fueling an already intense debate regarding immigration policy.
And all eyes on the weekend for a busy forecast. Those details coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Iowa's Republican voters will gather in less than 2 weeks to caucus for their presidential candidates. Former President Donald Trump is the clear frontrunner, leaving the other candidates to battle for second place. CBS's Natalie Brand has more from Washington.
Republican presidential hopefuls are crisscrossing Iowa looking for any voter who may still be undecided less than 2 weeks from caucus night.
I wish I could say exactly who I was caucusing for and exactly who I wanted, but I'm having a hell of a hard time.
Jason Dent told CBS News he's leaning toward former President Donald Trump, but also has concerns about Trump's electability.
I don't want to waste my vote and vote for him and then something happened to him. It's a tough call.
Voter Emily Lydiak, firmly against the former president, worries about a potential second term.
I don't think he would actually care about policies and helping the nation and the people of this country. I think it would just be him getting back at the people that he feels did him wrong.
The latest state polls still show Trump with a commanding lead, but the race for second place appears much tighter.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has a slight lead over former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Vivek Ramaswamy is a distant fourth with 7%.
It's good to see you guys.
DeSantis and Ramaswamy have poured significant campaign time and resources into Iowa, both visiting all 99 counties in the state.
I'm leaning towards Ron for presidential candidate.
Haley and Christie are focusing their efforts this week on New Hampshire, where they've garnered more support in the latest polling. The Granite State hosts the first in the nation GOP primary on January 23rd. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
DeSantis and Haley have both criticized Trump over his decision to skip next week's Republican primary debate in Des Moines, Iowa. 4 candidates for president have filed in Kentucky so far. President Biden filed today for the May Democratic primary. On the Republican side, businessman Vivek Ramaswamy has now filed in Kentucky. The others who have filed for the GOP presidential primary in Kentucky are former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The frontrunner in the polling, former President Donald Trump, has not filed in Kentucky yet. A new poll shows 46% of Americans say Donald Trump's actions related to January 6th should disqualify him from the presidency. Another 17% say his actions cast doubt on whether he is fit for the job. And 33% said his role in what happened on January 6th is irrelevant to being president again. The Washington Post and University of Maryland survey was taken December 14th through the 18th. A federal appeals court has denied former President Trump's effort to delay a civil defamation trial set to begin in 2 weeks. Trump had asked the appeals court to delay the case brought by E. Jean Carroll after he lost an earlier attempt by claiming presidential immunity. He said he needed additional time to consider his options, including the possibility of taking the case to the U.S. Supreme Court, but the motion was denied. The trial is now set to begin on January 16th. A record 300,000 migrants were processed at the U.S. southern border last month, fueling an already intense debate over immigration policy. A plane from Texas filled with migrants arrived in Rockford, Illinois early Sunday morning. Buses took those on board to Chicago as the impact of the crisis is felt nationwide. CBS's Omar Villafranca has more.
U.S. Border Patrol agents are managing a record increase of migrants arriving at the southern border, processing around 250,000 new arrivals each month since August. In December, hitting an all-time high of 300,000 migrants, which included a record number of families traveling with children. Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar represents communities along the border.
It's the pull factor. You got to have detention
and deportation.
CBS News has learned the White House is open to immigration reforms, including an authority to expel migrants and suspend asylum law in exchange for aid for Ukraine. This weekend, Texas Governor Greg Abbott arranged for 350 asylum seekers to be flown to Illinois. After landing in Rockford, they boarded buses to Chicago. Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson said on Face the Nation, city officials were given no notice.
What we have is clearly an international and federal crisis that local governments are being asked to subsidize, and this is unsustainable.
He and other Democratic mayors are dealing with the influx of thousands of migrants sent by Abbott and are asking Washington for more help.
We need federal dollars to help support our work here in the cities. We also need federal dollars for more support at the border, the ability to adjudicate asylum claims more quickly.
Adding to the political stakes, House Speaker Mike Johnson is expected to visit the border this week and hold a press conference on Wednesday here in Eagle Pass. And Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is also scheduled to visit here next week. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, Eagle Pass, Texas.
The fight between the White House and Texas Governor Greg Abbott is reaching a new level. The Biden administration is now asking the U.S. Supreme Court to let the U.S. Border Patrol cut razor wire at the southern border. Last year, the Lone Star State sued to halt the wire removal, claiming that it is a destruction of state property. Texas officials also say that it is effective in keeping illegal migrants from entering the U.S. Denver police arrested a man for breaking into the Colorado Supreme Court building early this morning. Police say the suspect fired a shot to break a window and then held a security guard at gunpoint to get inside. He fired multiple shots from the 7th floor. No one was injured, though. Colorado State Patrol says the man called 911 and voluntarily surrendered. During a sweep of the building, an officer found a fire in a stairwell. Police have not released a motive.
We are tracking some calm conditions as the sun sets on this Tuesday evening. Here's a live look across the mountains from Buffalo Mountain to I-64 in Moorhead, also to the London Corbin Airport. And again, we are tracking some dry weather as high pressure continues to control the forecast, and those temperatures in the middle 30s to the middle 40s in some areas, up to 44 in Manchester, 36 for Clintwood, and 38 over in Breathitt County for Jackson at this hour. So as the sun sets, we are tracking some cool weather for this evening. But we do stay dry. Up on first alert pinpoint Doppler as once again high pressure is the big story. We are tracking some more dry weather for this evening and tonight, but some changes are on the way, especially as we go into this weekend. A small chance of a passing sprinkle or snow flurry by late Wednesday, also on Thursday, as a weak cold front begins to work across the region. But we are tracking some more dry weather by Friday, and then some big changes by Saturday. Also on Sunday, some wintry mix is looking possible as a stronger weather system begins to move across the mountains, timing out that weekend forecast, plus another system by early next week in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thank you. Hamas has announced that one of the victims in an attack in southern Beirut Tuesday night was a senior official, Saleh al-Arori. He was considered one of the founding members of the group's military wing and was based in Beirut. The Israeli army demolished al-Arori's house in the occupied West Bank in October. At least 5 people have died and more than 100 were injured in Ukraine following an extensive Russian missile attack overnight. Local officials say the intent of the attack was to target the cities of Kyiv, Kharkiv, and others in the surrounding areas. In a statement, the Russian Ministry of Defense says it had targeted Ukraine's military-industrial complex and sites used for the storage, production, and repairs of weapons, missiles, and ammunition. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, when looking for a potential partner, do you take their finances into account? Some of the top financial red flags to consider.
Plus, a wintry mix is on the table by this weekend. Your first alert forecast after this break.